so much for letting me be here tonight. I have personally benefited from the American Cancer Society, and so I'm so glad to be a part of this event and starting to give back in some ways. So thank you. I am going to use some notes. No matter how many Sudoku puzzles I do, chemo did a number on my memory, so I need some notes. And I've got my Kleenex here because I can't get through Kodak commercials without crying, so we'll see how long it takes me to get through tonight. My journey began in March of 2007. I had gone in to have my yearly exam and had just mentioned to my provider that I was having some breast discomfort, and we couldn't find a reasonable purpose behind that, and so she sent me to get a mammogram at the age of 35, and that came out clear, so things were great. A few weeks later, I started feeling a lump and called back to the clinic, and they said, you know, it's probably just a cyst, you just had a full workup, don't worry about it, give us a call back in a few weeks if it doesn't get better. And a few weeks later, it wasn't getting better, and in my healthy paranoid way, I thought it was getting bigger, and so I called the clinic, and they couldn't get me in at that point for 2 weeks. And at that point, I used the analogy that that's when we started dancing. A friend of mine had given that analogy to me, saying that we needed to find a way to dance with the fear. And so we also danced with the unknown, with the waiting, with the ambiguity. That's wrong, but ambiguity. You know what I mean. And with the options of what might be. And May 4th confirmed for us the stage 4. Stage 4 breast cancer diagnosis.
You do it.
I was nearly paralyzed with the fear as images of our 4-year-old and 20-month-old daughters were going through my mind. The dreams I had for being a wife and a mother, and for being around to do all the wifely and motherly things, vanished. And that is the power that I gave cancer in those early days. It literally sucked the life from me, and before it did anything physically, it emotionally wreaked havoc on my spirit. I learned quickly, however, in those early days just how fortunate I am. I have a wealth of support around me. Most evidently is my amazing husband, who, despite his own fears, put us into action. He did research, he made phone calls, he read books and journals, he had conversations, he did everything that I needed him to do without any direction from me. And that's pretty amazing, because if you ask him, I'm sure he'll tell you that I give him lots of directions, usually unsolicited. Unfortunately, he was so good at this job because he had experience. 4 years before I was diagnosed, his dad had died of blood cancer. And Chris helped him through his journey with that disease. And I was affirmed that despite how much he hates to dance, he was going to make a wonderful partner. I'm also fortunate enough to have really good insurance coverage. We were able to choose our own treatment team, who is fabulous. They answer our barrage of questions, and they only tease me a little bit when I take out my journal and write down all the answers they give us. Who would have guessed that an insurance company would help us keep pace with the tempo of the music? Another image I was given as we made our way towards chemo was that we were going to kick cancer while wearing killer stiletto heels. By the time treatment day arrived, I was ready to strap them on and get going on the tango. And we got the party started on May 16th with my first round of chemo. After 4 sessions, it was out of my liver and my lymph nodes, and now we were doing the happy dance. In July, we switched to a new concoction of chemo for 4 sessions, which ended in September of 2007. The scans at that point looked like the chemo had wiped it out of the rest of my body, and so we were doing more happy dancing. In In November of 2007, I had a bilateral mastectomy, followed by 33 sessions of radiation that lasted through January of 2008. I was getting PET scans every 3 months, and they were all clean. And my doctor was always apologetic. I know it causes anxiety, I know it's a lot of time, and I told him that I would get scanned every week if he and the insurance company would let me, but that wasn't going to happen. So we contentedly danced our way through life. In January of 2009, I started having some weird speech changes, as we just noticed before, and some memory troubles. Some subtle changes that we chalked up to chemo brain, which, by the way, is very real. I do have a lifelong excuse for forgetting to buy milk. March of 29, I started having some headaches, and they would come and go. They weren't very bad. But one day, it just would not go away. And so I made an appointment with my primary provider. She did a ton of tests and blood work. Nothing came back suspicious, and she looked at me and said, "Bethany, this is not cancer, but you and I are going to feel better if we get an MRI." And 5 hours later, I was diagnosed with brain metastases. And we were back in that place, that awful place of blackness. And I had forgotten how cancer could take my security from me. I had fought the good fight and won. I had put it in remission, and this was not supposed to come back for a really long time. And now we were being told by nationally known doctors that I might have 3 to 6 months to live. Half a year to fit in a lifetime of momming. A lifetime. 6 months to make sure that my husband knew how much I loved him. 6 months to do everything. I was angry, not that I had cancer, but that I let it sneak up on me again. And I was having a really hard time finding the stilettos. But nothing gets you back on the dance floor like doing something concrete and constructive. And so after multiple consultations, we moved ahead with a new plan. And in April, I underwent whole brain radiation, and the initial reports indicated tremendous improvement and dramatic decrease in tumor sizes. And that was a direct quote from the doctor. And we followed up with some targeted radiation right at the tumors. And 3 weeks ago, we learned that although only a biopsy could confirm the scans, they look really good. And my doctor is hopeful that we've gotten it again. That's how I felt. I will continue to get scanned every 3 months, and we'll continue to watch how things change or don't change. And until then, we are dancing. Sometimes slow, romantic, restorative steps. Sometimes fast and silly hokey pokies. Sometimes celebratory twists and shouts. But what we figured out is that we're not getting through this, because this won't ever really be over for us. Life is not about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And sometimes we look like we're waltzing, and other times we look like we're doing the Macarena while listening to the Ave Maria. But we keep dancing, rain or shine, and that's how my family has survived.